you were telling the reporter over there a little bit about Ike Skelton's history as a congressman in this district, and sort of where you think he's coming from and where you hope he could go. Could you reiterate that point?
Yeah, I mean, I think here's my thing. A lot of people are saying, do you think Ike Skelton will issue an apology? I think that's what we were talking about. And my feeling is that Ike Skelton has been in office since 1977. He has a strong base of supporters in his district. He's a solid Democrat. He's well known for his expertise as being chairman of the military. He knows what he's talking about. We're not here to sort of bash him in any way. I really truly think that he will do the right thing. I'm confident on it. I think that he's you can't be in that long in office and not realize that that statement he made last week is definitely off base to what I think a lot of Americans believe. When you look at these numbers, when it comes to repealing of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, truly believe that look at even top conservatives in the Republican Party that believe it's time to repeal it. So I think this is maybe a little bit of he's going to have to backpedal and kind of really think about how to handle the statement. But I hope he can find it in his way to apologize.
I've seen some signs here today and heard some suggestions that children have no part in this debate. I'd like to maybe step back from that a little bit and ask, is it inappropriate to have a discussion with children?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Actually, I think the way where he placed it is maybe not the most appropriate, context. I actually do agree that that the LGBT community needs to actually bring up. I think it's being used not just when it comes to Don't Ask, Don't Tell, but I think it is when it comes to marriage equality. Two men or two women marrying. I think it also comes into where employment discrimination. I think all three of these major issues right now facing, American politics or the kitchen table, I think we do need to address it. I do think that on both sides, actually on the LGBT side, I think that we do need to have discussions with not just our children, not just the children we have in our families, but with our our siblings, our brothers and sisters who are straight, who are our neighbors, our church, our congregants. I think the discussion needs to be is that just being gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, it's not scary. This is not something that's going to frighten children. This is something that is just about diversity. It's no different if someone, in my opinion, speaks a foreign language or not trying to trivialize it. It's someone who's maybe children get the idea of someone who's different. And just for that reason alone, I think it's important to have these discussions. We know when we don't have those discussions that we do get things like bullying in schools. We get things like, low success rate, dropouts from a lot of the kids who are gay. We also know it's a high teen suicide rate from lesbians and gays and bisexual and transgender. So in other words, we know what happens when we don't talk about it with children. So I do agree that we should have the debate and include children in our debate discussion. But I feel the way Representative Ike Skelton used, kind of framed it, saying that what will mommies and daddies say to a 7-year-old just because if gays serve in the military. That was sort of, I don't know many, to be honest with you, I have many friends who serve in the military and who've served. I don't know many of them that actually talk about anything military to their children, especially 7-year-olds. I mean, it's not something you want to bring out. Military is a really adult, issue when you're dealing with war and people injuring themselves and, all that stuff. It's important, but I don't know if a 7-year-old has the capacity. So I think that should have been his discussion, is that children, a 7-year-old definitely doesn't need to be talking about Don't Ask, Don't Tell, military, anything. But we do need to have the discussion. I agree that we need to talk with children.
Some would say that Skelton's comments sort of encapsulate maybe an antiquated viewpoint, something that came from maybe a less understanding time. And that may reflect a cultural reality that you may find commonly throughout this state. How do you propose to change that culture, if
Well,
that's indeed your goal.
Right, and I do think that there is somewhat of this culture, clash. It's commonly used. I think one of the first things to do, I think the best is to look at other examples in history, not that long ago, of when we had other culture clash kind of issues. And I think what no best to look at, not very far back, is people who had disabilities. It wasn't until in the late 90s that we had the Americans with Disability Act that was put in force to actually give rights to people, that they can enter buildings and children can go to schools and be have the accessibility and be treated. I think what I'm speaking about being treated as equal, that they're not second-class citizens. And so I think what helps is anytime you talk about culture clash, I think what helps is to look at what worked and what was successful. And I think when we make it less frightening, and we don't use fear, and we don't I think when we do less fear and more of reality, more truth, more real conversations, I think that is going to solve the problem of people being frightened of any group that's different than them. So I think that's why I think it's so important for Ike Skelton in his position as a Democrat, as a Missouri Democrat, to actually help this conversation, this national conversation, to move forward. I would love for Ike Skelton to be, sort of help with that, not maybe lead it, but help with that conversation. So it's going to take people like him to really sit at the table and begin the dialogue, and not use fear. That's important. Not use the idea of whoa, if we just mention it to children, that somehow that's bad. And I think that's what came across, that LGBT equals bad because it could frighten the children.
And so this is part of a national campaign, right?
Correct, yes.
And so is this the first activism of this national campaign?
No. Actually, so Show Me No Hate is based here in Missouri, and we're partnered with GetEqual, and that group has been doing, in the last 2-3 months, Lieutenant Dan Choi, of course, has been seen where he, basically went to the, White House and, basically, handcuffed himself. He serves in the military, and he's facing right now charges, because of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, as being an out gay soldier.
I'm sorry, when did he do that?
I'd say 2 months ago. If you put Lieutenant Dan Choi, I'm sure you'll find it. Or if you go to the,
Choi?
It was in May, CHOI.
And if you actually go to the GetEqual.org website, I'm sure there'll be a press release and everything on it.
Okay, but after Ike's comments, is this the first time after the We Demand an Apology?
Correct. This is the very first personal demand. We did one online, where we had a campaign online where we asked for it. This is the first in person.
And you delivered
3,000 names and zip codes to his office today.
And that was from within his district, or that was a nationwide?
Within his district, I'd say maybe they were close to 200 of his zip code, but a lot of them included from the entire state of Missouri, and some bordering. We had some Illinois and some other cities, but a great majority of them came from Missouri, and it's still great that, even if it's just 200 from his district, that's, even if it was one, and today we had 4 people from his district, I think it's, it's important that he knows that he has, LGBT people living in his district that really want him to apologize. And I think that's what we're trying to get out today, is that he needs to, kind of look at that and see how, he has to represent them too.
So if you don't get the outcome that you're hoping for today, what will come next?
We haven't really, I don't want to say we haven't yet thought about that, but, we're hoping, I'm going to go with the positives today. I don't want to really, go with the negatives that we'll be back every day. I'm hoping that maybe by tomorrow, we gave him a week to apologize, and I'm hoping that, he'll come out with a great statement tomorrow. But if not, we're willing to, put the pressure on if we have to come back, and or maybe have some more of his constituents come to his offices. And he's got 4 in the state. If we have to set those meetings up, we'll do that.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can we steal you now?